What is up, guys? My name is Sparky Midori, otherwise known as Prince of Darkus, and if you are anything like me, then you like board games, card games, video games, dice games, anything that has the word game in it. I am a big fan. Evidently, with me liking Bakugan and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And so on and so forth. But what if you took all the game pieces away and kept maybe just one? Well, that's when you get games like Dungeons and Dragons. This is a game that I have had in my possession for years. And it's always intrigued me ever since I was a child. But I never bothered to learn how to play. I bought this years ago, started learning the instructions, got overwhelmed and overstimulated and just left it. Now I decided to pick it up again and I wanted to learn how to play it properly and try and find some friends to do it with. And I got a bit too excited and I decided I wanted to make characters already without learning how to play it properly. So I thought, what if I use this with Bakugan? So I decided to take one of the main characters of Bakugan, you know him, you love him, Danny Boy over here, and I wanted to make him in D&D. And it was actually a really fun little exercise and I want to do with all the other brawlers. So come along with me while I show you what I did with making Danny Boy using the website Heroes Forge. This is an amazing tool that I discovered where you can make miniatures and just basically see your character in a 3D little space, and you can actually buy these miniatures that you make through their website. I'm not sponsored with them by any means. I just really like the tool and the website they have, and it's been really helpful with me trying to visualize what I want to make when I learn how to play this game properly. Yeah. Okay, so first I had to make a new body. Ignore the first body you saw, that was me fiddling and tinkering in this website here. Oh, I did forget to mention, this is a website. You don't need to install anything to use all that you're seeing on screen now to create the models. But besides which, I made myself, and that was just me fiddling before I made Dan, because I wanted to see how the website works and how the little model maker works. Now for Dan's body and head and everything, I did struggle a fair bit, trying to figure out the way Dan would look. I was trying to find hair that was as close as possible to his anime counterpart, but I couldn't find anything exact. So I kind of went with a wild bedhead kind of look. I'm not sure what I could have done with his head either, just because I know he's supposed to look young, and he's got more round features because, again, he's supposed to be a child, but I couldn't quite get what I wanted, but I'm still very happy with the end result. For his clothing, obviously he had to have his goggles. The iconic goggles we see him have in every single season of the show, but I wanted to model specifically after the ones we see him in season 1. So that's why I used these ones here. Next, for Dan's clothes. I did want him to look sort of modern-ish. So in other words, if he literally just went straight from modern world, suddenly dropped into the fantasy world, I wanted him to have similar clothes, but also still have some kind of armor. But I still wanted him to be recognizable as Dan. So I went with his tank top that he wears from season 1, the bright yellow one, and for the shirt, I wanted to give him the overshirt. I wanted to give him his jacket, but also give him some kind of armor. So I did find something that was very close, but had a bit of bulk to it, and I wanted to give him some plating on the shoulders, similar to how he has black on his clothing from the show. For his gloves, I did look a fair bit to try and find gloves to match. One short, one long. And I did come across two that did work. They did look a bit bulky. And I know the ones he wears in the show are rather sleek. But again, I'm still happy with how it looks because, again, we want armor on him. For a belt, he wears basically just a generic belt for all of his clothes, except for in season 2 for New Vestroya. He has like these, I forget what they're called, the things that go over your shoulder straps. Yeah, but they're kind of just hanging on the side. So I found one that was close to it and left it at that. I also gave him some shoes that did have some plating because, again, I wanted him to be very knightly because that's how I feel Dan would be. But I also realized in season 2 New Vestroya, he uses Apollonier as a spear. And Apollonier in this form actually has a more trident look, but I don't know, just something with the tridents I found wasn't quite sticking with me. It looked too bulky, looked too Poseidon-esque, I guess you could say. So I just didn't like it, but I was trying to find something to work with it. I also really wanted to have cards or Bakugan in some way incorporated into Dan's design, but I don't know, just everything I was looking for wasn't working. I did find a dragon shield, which I really loved. I wanted the dragon shield to kind of be Drago's representation in this form of Dan, because obviously you can't have Bakugan in D&D unless you want to get really creative, but I really liked the dragon shield. But I ultimately decided to scrap the trident, and I found a spear that was very close to how Apollonier looked in terms of like how skeletal I guess he looked. So I stuck with that instead, but kept the shield. And again, I really wanted to have the cards incorporated in Dan's design, but ultimately I got rid of them and instead had a backpack on him. I know he doesn't really have a backpack a lot in the anime, but we do see him with a very skinny blue backpack, and I think it's a red backpack as well at some point in the anime. So I did want to keep at least some kind of backpack. And for posing for this model, I was trying everything, but I had to reset it a couple times and then manually move parts myself, just because I wasn't happy with how the shield or the spear was facing one direction or a different one to how I was envisioning it being used. But I found one that worked for me, and just with some minor tweaking with the armor pieces and the shield, I got a pose that worked for me. For the colors, thankfully the website does have some predetermined color palettes that help you along if you don't know color theory too well. Like, I struggle with skin color. Either I'll make someone too dark or too pale, or just straight up green. So I'm glad that it had something for me to work with for Dan's skin. And then the rest I manually painted myself after the fact with the different textures and colors that it does offer. You can custom make colors yourself, but that was a bit too daunting for me. So I just left it with the colors they had and the textures they provide. You can pick different textures, be it fabric, gem, stone, metal, all sorts. So that really helped a lot with trying to color in Dan, and I wanted specific sort of looks, I guess, to different materials, like leather on his gloves, but then I wanted bone on the spear and metal on the trims of the Dragonoid shield, so on and so forth. I did also want him to look very knightly still, because I would picture Dan as a knight kind of esque thing in this D&D world, but using Apollonier as the spear and Drago as the guardian shield. I do also imagine Drago is the shield in this version of Bakugan. I mean, D&D, excuse me. Yeah. Like in my vision, I picture Dan is just sucked away into the D&D world and has to figure out a way back home with Drago in tow, but Drago obviously can't be a full-on Bakugan in this world, so he has to take a form, i.e. the shield, that just helps talk to Dan and be his companion while he's traveling and he's trying to figure out a way back home. Spear, I don't want to say that the spear is Apollonier or anything, but maybe that'll come at a later point when I recreate the sheet. Oh, that reminds me! In the description down below, you'll see a link to download the sheet I've made for Dan. It is the first sheet I've ever made, so I do apologize if it's a bit not okay or a bit stupid. Please be nice to me. I'll hopefully be able to improve when I make more of these. And this was very fun. I do want to make more of these in the future for the other brawlers. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of y'all's whatever day it is. Stay strong and battle on, Battle Brawlers. Bye-bye.